Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Before we get into today's show, I want to ask you a question about Alejandro Garnacho. We will be speaking about an issue that happened in the game last night. But the question I have for you today is, would you sell Garnacho in the summer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. We will start the show off there. So the reason we're bringing up this topic is because obviously Garnacho was substituted yesterday in was it about the 44th minute? Patrick Dorgu got a red card. Ruben Amorim decided that he needed to change things, which was fair enough, I think, because obviously you're playing with 10 men for 50 minutes. You have to make a change. And it was Garnacho that was the one that got selected to come off. There was boos ringing around Old Trafford for this decision. They weren't happy. I think most people, myself included, I'm not going to change my tone, thought that it should have been Højlund that came off. Højlund, for me, offers nothing. And I don't think that's being harsh. Like, his hold-up play's bad. He's a striker, but like there was 2 or 3 opportunities yesterday for him to have a shot in the box. And one of them, he let the ball go through his legs. The other one, I think he just like fell over. So, yeah. It was a bad decision in my opinion, but at the end of the day, the manager is the manager. The manager made that decision and we ended up winning the game. And as a result of that, Garnacho, when he got substituted, went straight down the tunnel. He didn't go to the bench. And then he put up a post on Instagram last night with him with his head down, like holding his face, like looking sad. It's not a good look, is it, to be honest? And I think Ruben Amorim was also asked about this in his post-match press conference, and the journalists are effectively comparing it to a similar thing that Rashford did, which I think is fair. So Ruben Amorim says, you are making the connection with Rashford, right? I'm going to talk with Garnacho about that. I will talk about it in the next press conference. It's a difficult one because you can't have one tone for Rashford and another tone for Garnacho. I think they both have attitude problems, but I think there is still a difference between Garnacho and Rashford. Like, Rashford's just like walking around the pitch, not doing anything, whereas Garnacho does actually try. But they do still both have attitude problems. And I think something really interesting was said by Erik ten Hag he did an interview a couple of days ago with his agency, SEG, and he said the youth of today can't take criticism. And I think that this is a prime example of that, isn't it? Alejandro Garnacho couldn't see past the fact that he was being substituted. And he couldn't see that Manchester United were down to 10 men playing a team who were in the relegation zone and a team who we needed to beat. And he made it about himself. When it isn't about himself, it's about the whole team. Maybe this will come with age. I just personally think that Garnacho is that type of player. He has the ego of Ronaldo, but the ability of someone like Wilfried Zaha. Would you agree? Or, I don't know, I can't think of any other names off the top of my head, but you get the point I'm making. Like, he's not world class. He's not how good Ronaldo was at his age. I don't think he scored in 19 games, if I'm not mistaken, which is, I mean, that's just not very good, is it, really? And I was one of the few people who in the January window said that if someone offers us 50 million for him, I would take that. Because I think when you weigh up all the pros and cons of it, and you weigh up the fact that 50 million would have allowed us to spend, I think, 200 million because of PSR, I think it's a decision that you probably have to make. I mean, the guy's got 3 goals in the Premier League in 26 games. And he thinks that highly of himself, that after being substituted, arguably he was our best player to that point, so I'm not going to backtrack on that. And I personally wouldn't have substituted him as well, just to say I would have taken off Højlund. But at the end of the day, Ruben Amorim is a professional football manager who's played football his whole career and knows a hell of a lot more about football than me or you. Would you agree? And I know some people, think that they know lots about football, but at the end of the day, this guy's the manager of Manchester United. And if he thinks in that moment that bringing off Garnacho is the right decision, then fair play. And I think how he explained it, which does kind of make sense, was that he wanted to have more physicality on the pitch. And obviously Højlund is more physical than Garnacho, although Højlund never wins the ball in 50-50s. His hold-up play is terrible. So yes, he might be bigger, he might be stronger, he might be a bigger presence on the pitch. Højlund doesn't actually really win us the ball. Like, do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a bit of a difficult one. And at the time, I was on Twitter. If anybody ever wants to see how I'm feeling like mid-game, go and follow Daily Red Devil on Twitter, because I'm always posting stuff in the games. It's kind of like my way of unleashing how I feel in that moment. So I wrote, why is Ruben Amorim bringing off Garnacho? I said, Højlund has literally offered Manchester United nothing this whole season, and Garnacho has arguably been one of our best players. Højlund is like playing with 10 men. Now we are playing with 9 men. That was obviously me in the moment. Which, I mean, it's a little bit harsh, but I do think playing with Højlund is like playing with 10 men, to be honest. He doesn't score. He doesn't create chances. His hold-up play is awful. He doesn't seem to be able to control the ball. I just don't think he's very good. And I can see why Garnacho was annoyed, because he was probably thinking, I've just had an amazing game, played really well, and I'm the one getting substituted. But just to kind of re-summarise, football is a team game, and your manager is your manager. It's the same in any walk of life, right? Your manager at work is your manager. They're above you, and you have to listen to them. You might not agree with them, but as Erik ten Hag said in this this interview 2 days ago, Erik ten Hag said that Manchester United, he didn't say Manchester United, to be fair, but it was obvious who he was talking about. I assume there's a non-disclosure agreement still in place between Erik ten Hag and Manchester United, but he effectively said that the young players of today can't take criticism, and if you criticise them, they'll then go into the HR department the next morning and they will complain, saying that, oh, he criticised me. I mean, it's literally pathetic, and I think we're kind of getting the idea of who these players were now. This has been Garnacho who's done it. Rashford's also, it's been taken off and walked down the tunnel. You could argue that he was soaking wet and cold and wanted to go and warm up, which I think is fair. But then other people are arguing, saying, well, other players got substituted and they went and sat on the bench. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to it. But the fact of the matter is, he walked straight down the tunnel and he didn't come back out and sit on the bench. And that's obviously rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. The press are going crazy about this. I personally would sell him in the summer, I think, if you could get 50, 60 million for him. Somebody's saying, why are you talking about this? I mean, the manager of Manchester United is talking about this. So somebody who talks about Manchester United on YouTube, me, I think it warrants talking about it. If the Manchester United manager is being asked about this, he literally is asked, why did Alejandro Garnacho go straight down the tunnel? Ruben Amorim's response was, you are bringing this up because of Marcus Rashford, right? I'm going to talk to Garnacho about that. I will talk about that in the next press conference. It's effectively this. We can't all sit here and make Marcus Rashford out to be this horrible person because his attitude's bad and all the rest of it. And then Garnacho does something similar and we say, oh, we're not going to talk about that. You have to be fair. And it's not particularly a good look for Garnacho to have done what he did. Is it the end of the world? No. It doesn't really change my stance because I would have sold him in January anyway. So, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it, but I think obviously it warrants talking about it because, Garnacho posted it on his Instagram as well. So the player's talking about it, the manager's talking about it, so we're going to talk about it. But you can let me know what you think about this. How do you think he has the right attitude? Would you keep him? Would you sell him? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Gino says, we were down to 10 men and Højlund attracts 2 defenders, which is why I agree with Amorim. Yeah, fair enough, but Garnacho could have done the same job. And effectively, when Garnacho came off, we had no attacking element for 45 minutes. So it was a massive risk. If Ipswich had equalised, I think we would have really struggled to get another goal because we didn't have any attack on the counter. Dave says it's good that Garnacho had a strop. But the thing is, right, how can it be good when Garnacho does it, but when Rashford does it, it's a disgrace, get him out of the club? That's what I don't understand. So I assume the people who are saying that it's good that Garnacho walked down the tunnel and didn't come back out is a good thing. But then when Rashford does something similar, people are like, he's a disgrace, 350 grand a week, get him out of my club. That's you have to have the same rules for everybody. If you want to instill this elite mentality, then you can't just be like, oh, it's all right if Rashford does it. Oh, it's not all right if Garnacho does it. Like, it can't be like that. It has to be the same for everybody, you know? So, yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up. And then somebody else says Garnacho's attitude isn't helping him or the team. I agree. And obviously it's great to see somebody with passion and wanting to play. But the point that I think a lot of you are missing is Garnacho wants to play for himself, right? He's upset because he's been taken off. He can't understand the bigger picture that we're down to 10 men and the manager who is responsible for the team has decided that their best chance of winning that game is by bringing off Garnacho. But yeah, I mean, I get his frustration though, obviously. I just think hopefully it's something that he learns in later in his career. And hopefully it's, something that him and Ruben Amorim can kind of just sort out and brush under the carpet. But this is going to be made into a big thing because obviously Ruben Amorim's frozen out players for bad attitude, and this is a sign of bad attitude. So, yeah. But anyway, let's move on from that. Obviously, there's always going to be mixed opinions on this. Some people think we shouldn't be talking about it. Some people think we do. Right, let's move on to some transfer news. So we've got a bit of an update on Giovanni Kenda coming up from Fabrizio Romano. He is reporting this morning that Ruben Amorim apparently loves Giovanni Kenda, and wants to bring him to Manchester United. I mean, again, that's kind of news we already knew, but that's good. I'd be happy to bring in Giovanni Kenda. And then you have a bit on Victor Osimhen. The Napoli sporting director has been speaking about this. He says that it's true that Victor Osimhen has a release clause in his contract. We're working to find a solution as soon as possible to avoid a late transfer like what happened last summer. I just still think there's this strong chance that Garnacho ends up at Napoli and we buy Victor Osimhen. I could just see it happening. I think from Garnacho's perspective, going to Napoli would be a great move for him. He's going to go there. He's going to be challenging for the Italian title every year. He's going to be in the Champions League every year. Whereas at Manchester United, our own CEO, Omar Barada, has said that he thinks we'll be in the Europa League for the next 4 years. I mean, if you're a young player, you only have one career, why would you stay at Manchester United? I mean, Victor Osimhen's a different situation. He's 27. He's currently playing in the Turkish league. He's fallen out with the Napoli board. He's 100% going to leave. So his options aren't as fruitful, I don't think, as a player like Garnacho would be. So, yeah, I think it's a slightly different situation. And obviously, Osimhen's older. Garnacho's only 20. Osimhen's 70. So, in relation to Fabrizio Romano's comments on Osimhen, Fabrizio said that Victor Osimhen wants the same salary he is earning at Napoli and will not go below it. It is around 10 million net per season. Manchester United really like Osimhen, but it depends on the budget they will have available this summer. 10 million net. Does that mean... Wow. That's crazy. 10 million net a season. Let me just work that out, because obviously net means after tax. Let's have a look. So, so if we do 10 million, just trying to work out how much that would be a week so we can talk about it. So if you do 10 divided by 52 weeks, so it's about 190 grand a week, but that's after tax. Highest tax earners in the UK, I think, is like 40%. Is that right? Yeah. So it's probably going to be around 300k a week, I reckon, because he wants to earn about 200 grand a week after tax. But obviously, tax in the UK is like 40-50%. So yeah, it's going to be big wages. I reckon somewhere around 300 to 350 grand a week. I don't know. That does kind of put me off a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I saw some reports yesterday saying it was around 200, but I think where this has got confused is he wants 200 grand a week after tax. So, and obviously the tax in the UK, I think, is more than what it is in Italy. I think tax in the UK for someone on that amount of money would probably be about half of your weekly pay would go in tax. So, yeah, it's a lot of money. Fabrizio also said that Victor Osimhen is keen and wanting to join Manchester United. He is waiting to hear from the club. So that was Fabrizio Romano yesterday, effectively saying that Victor Osimhen has effectively said he wants to join Manchester United. So make of that what you will. I think, I don't know. That it has kind of put me off, though, the wages thing, because, on one hand, we're getting rid of our canteen, we're sacking people, we're making all of these cuts, and then you're going to potentially go and give another player 350k a week who has had disciplinary issues at Napoli. I think that's why a lot of teams have steered away from him, to be honest, because of his massive wages and because there is still a bit of a question mark over his attitude, I think, from what I've heard, the alternative is you go for like a younger option on lower wages. What's Gyökeres on wages wise? Let's have a little look at Gyökeres. Gyökeres at Sporting currently only earns 38,000 a week. That's before tax. So, even if you were to triple Gyökeres' salary, right, that would be 120 grand a week. Whereas we're talking about 350 grand a week here for Osimhen before tax. He wants 200 grand a week after tax. I don't know the exact maths, but the tax in the UK is about 50%. So it might even be more than 350k a week. If it's 350, he would only get 175 grand a week. And he's supposedly wanting 200 grand a week before tax. Sorry, after tax. So, it's a hell of a lot of money. When you think that you'd also have to pay £62 million to Napoli as well. Like that deal could be worth, if he wants 350k a week, right? And he's on a 5-year contract. Let me just work that out quickly for you. So you do 350 times by 52 times by, that's crazy, crazy money. So where are we? 52 times 350,000. Based on the maths I've just done really quickly, if we were to sign Osimhen on a 5-year deal on 350 grand a week, which would mean he'd get his 175, 200 grand net per week, it would be 182 million pounds in wages over. Is that right? That seems like a lot. 350 times 52. No, that was wrong. I did the maths wrong. So it'd be 91 million pounds in wages over 5 years, plus 60 million transfer fee. So it'd be like 150 million total package. About 30 million a season you'd be paying for him across his transfer fee and his wages. For that amount of money, you need somebody to be scoring 30, 40 goals a season, don't you? For me. Yeah, it's kind of put me off a little bit. I was quite excited about Victor Osimhen, but now that we've worked this all out, I'm just gonna triple check what his wages are quickly. 1 second. I just want to double check what his wages are at Napoli. Yeah, it is correct. So he earns currently at the moment 250,000 euros a week. Fabrizio said that he wants 10 million a season net. So that's after tax. Pounds. Yeah, I don't know how you'll feel about that. Let's do a little poll, shall we? We haven't done a poll in ages. Let's do one of them. Would you be happy paying? I just think that we're trying to bring our wage bill down, and giving someone 350k a week is kind of going backwards. I don't know. It's difficult because if he comes in and he scores us 30 goals and we win something off the back of it, then obviously it's worth it. But there's obviously that risk that you bring someone in and then he's got 14 goals in the Turkish league He got 15 goals last season in the Italian league. He got 26 goals the year before in the Italian league. And the season before that, he got 14. So he's probably averaging about, 18 goals a season, roughly, when he's been playing in Italy. And then he does score in Europe as well, to be fair. He's getting 5 or 6 goals each season in the Champions League. I mean, realistically, that is the price you pay for a top striker. But it's just whether Manchester United, in the position we are now, knowing that we're firing people left, right and centre, we're cutting money to charities, we're closing our canteen, we're, the list of things is ridiculous. And then you're going to go and potentially give someone £10 million a season. Les says, I would rather get Gyökeres, pay more but less wages. Remember, none of these players are guaranteed in the Premier League. Yeah, I probably agree. Stefan says Osimhen won't score 30 goals. Yeah, I mean, you're right, 100%, because Osimhen has never scored 30 goals in the league in any of his seasons in the past. His best ever season was 26 goals. And if I said to you that, I mean, if Osimhen scored 26 goals in the Premier League and we were paying 30 million a season, including his wages and his transfer fee, I think that would probably be all right value. But, if he scored 10 goals, that would be 3 million a goal. Yeah, it's not great, is it? But I don't know. This is obviously hypothetical. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Just to summarise, Fabrizio saying that Osimhen wants £10 million net per season in wages, which is the equivalent of about £192,000 a week. Obviously, you've got to add the tax on top of that, so it's around 350. But apparently he does want to join Manchester United. Is that because he thinks we're one of the only clubs who will pay that type of money? Maybe. There is obviously links again to Chelsea. Do Chelsea need him? Maybe. I mean, Chelsea have lots of attacking options though, don't they? That's the thing. Which kind of surprises me that they would want to go for Osimhen. I think they've got loads. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about this one. It's a difficult one. It's kind of thrown a little spanner in the works. JMO says, doesn't he want Champions League football though? I don't know. He went to Galatasaray last season and they don't have Champions League football. They're in the Europa, aren't they? I think. Is that right? Or have I just made that up? They might be in the Champions League, actually. It's Fenerbahce who are in the Europa League, isn't it? To be honest, I think he probably just wants to go somewhere who's willing to pay him the money that he wants, I think. The fact that he decided to move to Turkey doesn't really show that he had that many options. There wasn't any, there weren't Premier League teams trying to go for him, were they? I know there was murmurs of Chelsea, but yeah. I know they are in the Europa League, yeah. So I was right. He moved from a team in the Champions League to a team in the Europa League in Turkey. So, he can't have had that many options. I'm just looking at his goal stats for Napoli. So in 133 games, he scored 76 goals and got 12 assists. So that is 88 goals and assists in 133 games, which is, so if we do 88 divided by 133. So he's averaging a goal or an assist every, nearly every other game. And that's across all competitions, so that'll be against some lesser teams as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys all think. I do think that's a little bit much, to be honest. Again, this is coming from Fabrizio, 10 million a season net. Net means after tax. Alex says Chelsea offered him 120 grand a week in the summer. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If he wanted 250k a week, I think that would probably be acceptable. But to want 200 grand a week after tax, that's mental. I honestly think he'd be on the same wages as Casemiro is now, or Bruno. He'd be on the top players. Stefan says, I'm confused by Omar Barada's statement. Didn't they have a plan 21 and now they're talking about the Europa League? Yeah, so am I. They had this whole thing of, was it 2028 that by 2028, they're going to win the Premier League? And then suddenly they're like, oh, we're now going to be in the Europa League. I mean, maybe that's the plan. Maybe the plan is to like not be in Europe and to focus on the Premier League. I don't know. Weird. Fred says, do you think we'll be able to win a title before Osimhen turns 30? Probably not. Osimhen's 27 this year, so by the time he joins Manchester United, I know he's 27 in December. Somebody says we need a creative midfielder, someone like Florian Wirtz. Yeah, Florian Wirtz is an amazing player, but as you say, he's going to end up at Man City, I bet you. Kevin De Bruyne will leave Man City and they'll sign someone like Florian Wirtz, 100%. Stefan says, aren't we supposed to talk about how to remove the Glazers and Ineos instead of potential transfers that may never happen? I mean, we can talk about that if you want, but I just think at the end of the day, if that's all we're talking about every single day, right? It probably just makes you hate football and Manchester United even more than you already do, realistically. We've got the show topic today has obviously come from Fabrizio Romano, who's a tier 1 journalist. It's not like we're talking about a story that I heard down the local pub from some drunkard. It's one of the top journalists in world football talking about a player that a lot of people in this chat want to sign. So I think that's probably a little bit more interesting than being like, the Glazers have ruined the club. We all know that. The Glazers aren't going to sell Manchester United. They're not. Ineos literally bought their shares a year ago. It's a vanity project for them. They're not going to sell it. They don't care what you think. And this is just me speaking the truth here. Yes, it's upsetting. Yes, it's frustrating. But the Glazers don't care. They live in America. They come to England probably once a year to watch one game. They fly in a private jet. They'll get taken straight to the stadium, escorted straight out of the stadium, back on their private jet and back to the safety in America, right? Ineos, Jim Ratcliffe doesn't even live in England. He lives in Monaco. He probably comes over 3 or 4 times a year, again, in a private jet, straight to wherever he wants to go, straight out and back out of the country. Like, they don't care. They don't care what people on the internet think. They don't care about people kicking off on Twitter. Do you really think these people with this high net worth are looking at Twitter or looking at YouTube videos? They're not. They're probably sacking all of the people who previously were responsible for monitoring social media and looking at what the optics were saying about them. They literally do not care. And the problem we have is we have the biggest, if not the second biggest fan base in the world. Us or Real Madrid have the biggest fan base in the world, right? And people are just going to keep going to the games. They're going to keep buying the shirts. So it's easy for a small minority of people to say, this is the plan. We must boycott the games. We must stop buying the merch. Okay? That's great. You can do that if you want. But the fact of the matter is, if you just look at the season ticket waiting list, right? This is season ticket people. This is people who probably live in Manchester who want to go every single game. These aren't tourists. The season ticket wait list at the moment is around 120,000 people waiting. Some people have been waiting for 10, 20 years. So if we stop going to games, season ticket holders say, I don't want my ticket anymore, there's another 120,000 people waiting. And that doesn't include the tourists who just go to individual games. So we know what the problem is. We know who the issue is. It's the Glazers. It's Jim Ratcliffe. We get that. But I just think we do these shows every single day. And if we're literally just going to talk about the Glazers every single day, it's like, it's just not a very enjoyable experience, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people do just want to talk about that every day. But for me personally, I'm more than happy to talk about it, and I do talk about it a lot. I'll do rant videos. I do videos where I really like go in on them. But when there's a big journalist like Fabrizio coming out with a story about Victor Osimhen, I think it's exciting, and maybe that's a distraction. Maybe it's smoke and mirrors. Even if in the summer we sign Osimhen and all the rest of it, I'm not going to be happy with the ownership. It's not going to make any difference. We're £1 billion in debt, and we've spent £1 billion in interest in the last decade, right? This is the problem as well. When I start talking about it, I get annoyed and I get frustrated. So it's like, we all know the situation. We all know the situation. And no matter what happens at the moment, it seems like there's always going to be another person to buy the shirt. There's always going to be another fan waiting to take someone else's ticket. And they know that. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I saw some people saying like the only way to get them out is to cancel games, because obviously cancelling games would cost the club loads of money. Or I saw another person on Twitter saying that that fans should just stay in the stadium and refuse to leave. Like, there's all these things, but it's not happening, is it? And yeah, but anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show this morning. Please do make sure to drop a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you were new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all on the next one. Bye for now.